Get ready because this week marks the moment when inner clarity starts requiring real world structure. And we're working with this late degree Capricorn New Moon and a powerful shift into Aquarius. These planets are going to be shifting into Aquarius. That's a threshold where honesty stops being internal insight and begins shaping decisions, commitments, and power. Are you listening? Now, you can move through this week at your own pace, but you and I, we're going to start right where things quietly become real. So, if you've been watching me, the last 2 weeks have been doing something very specific. Okay. And you may want to go back and watch those or rewatch those. First, in the first week, you noticed that life started moving again. Then last week, you felt the place where it still hurt to show up honestly. And this week, this is the week where those two things meet. Because it's one thing to recognize your truth privately, but it's another whole other thing to live it inside real conversations and real commitment and real choices. Okay, so if this week feels like a moment where clarity starts asking for follow through, it won't be in a dramatic way, nor will it be all at once. Okay, that's not what's happening now. But you'll know when it's happening because it's in small but unmistakable ways. Remember, that is not pressure. That feeling is your story progressing, unfolding, or advancing. In other words, it's your dream life anchoring into this reality to become solid mass. Why? So you can experience it. Hello, beautiful ones. I'm Cindy, astrologer, mystic, and I guide people through periods of deep change by helping them understand what the sky is doing inside them. Welcome to Forecast the Shift Timelines. Each week, we follow how this year is unfolding, not just around you, but through the choices you're being asked to make. Now, over the past week, you may have noticed something subtle but important. This, I know for sure, that once you name a truth, you can't unname it. And from that point on, the truth doesn't want to stay internal. So I'm asking you to pay attention because this week you may feel a growing discomfort with half answers. Okay. You also may feel a resistance to saying yes when you actually mean maybe or no, or a desire to be clear even if it feels awkward. And I want you to know this is not because you're trying to create change. It's because for you right now, for all of us, pretending you don't know anymore takes more energy than being honest. And when this happens, when you find yourself in this state this week, you'll know it is the moment where identity stops being an idea and starts becoming a lived experience. And honestly, that can feel tender. So this week begins today. And that's with that new moon in Capricorn. And this isn't the kind of new moon that asks what you hope for. No. This is energy that's asking what you're willing to build. At 28 degrees, this new moon isn't early or experimental. It's at 28 degrees. It carries the feeling of we're past the rehearsal phase. So if you notice conversations turning more serious or choices asking for a follow through, that's going to be a big one for everybody. Or a quiet sense that something needs to be decided, not delayed. Again, I want you to remember that's not pressure coming from the outside. That's the new moon saying, if this isn't who you are now, what does that require? And right alongside of it is Mars, Mercury, the sun, right? Who are all together in Capricorn, the moon. This means the questions are going to be asking what you think, what you say, what you do, and who are you presenting yourself as? These questions are all lining up and working together as they are helping you form your identity. Okay. The identity is really important. We are moving, these two are moving into Aries, the I am. Who am I? Right? This is helping you. This energy is helping you clarify, form the identity that you're going to be presenting over the next, well, 14 to 20 years, right? So, this is why, at this point, half answers feel uncomfortable. This is also why circling conversations can feel exhausting. It's also why clarity suddenly feels kinder than avoidance. Again, it's not because anyone is forcing you, it's because your inner authority, Capricorn, wants consistency. Capricorn, you're building that. You're building. And here's where the week gets real. When Mars, Mercury, and the sun move together like this, you don't just know what's true. You will feel compelled to act from it, from your truth. So that might look like, for some people, speaking more directly than you usually would, or realizing you can't keep agreeing just to keep things running smoothly, or even noticing how much energy you've spent maintaining something that doesn't fit anymore. And if part of you wants to slow this down, to wait until it feels more comfortable, that makes sense. But this week doesn't support pretending you don't know. Okay? And again, it's not going to be in a dramatic way. It's going to be in a practical one. Okay? So it becomes harder to separate your identity from your decisions, or your values from your behavior. Okay? They are going to align one way or the other. This isn't about being bold or confrontational, right? It's about recognizing that once truth is clear, continuing to live around it, that clarity, starts to feel heavier than actually living from it. And that's the cost of staying the same. If you decide that you're going to continue living around it instead of living from it, the cost is the heaviness that you are going to encounter. Okay? All right, beautiful ones. By the 20th, the energy shifts. You see these planets go from Capricorn into Aquarius. That's an energy shift, okay? So as the sun moves out of Capricorn and Mercury is out of Capricorn, and it is going to move into Aquarius, and it doesn't do it quietly. This is the sun we're talking about, right? And what it does, you can see here, it immediately comes in contact and joins Pluto and Venus. And this is where the story pivots as the energy shifts, okay? Capricorn asked when they were here, what are you willing to commit to? That was the question. Aquarian is very different from Capricorn. So Aquarian is going to ask, does this actually reflect who you are? Right? And with Pluto here, this isn't cosmetic change, right? You got Pluto and Venus. It's not about tweaking the surface. It's not about looking right or looking good. This is Pluto. It goes deep. And if you want to know more about Pluto, I'll put my Pluto series up here for you. Okay. This is about power, truth, and irreversibility. And with Venus involved here, this reaches straight into relationships, self worth, money, values, and what and who you can no longer negotiate yourself for. Okay? This is why some of you may feel sudden clarity this week. Almost like relief after making a hard decision. You know that feeling? And, or maybe even certainty about what you're done tolerating. When you finally said, I'm done, but it's not like in a mad or angry or aggressive way. It's just like, I'm done, right? Like you may get that feeling too. That's the kind of clarity that's coming this week. Or even a knowing that once you choose this, there's no going back. You can't unsee it or unchoose it, right? And again, this is not a threat. This is what I call integrity. This is you aligning with yourself, being very clear and honest with your identity and who you are. This is the moment that I'm talking about where identity stops being managed and starts being lived. Okay. And it's in a quiet and firm way without needing anybody's approval. Make sense? Now, before I talk about private work, I want to make sure you are aware of something. This is for those of you who are newer here or realizing you want more support. Okay. I have a membership space called the Inner Pathway. Okay. It's where we take each week like this and slow them down. I'm helping you, giving you modalities to walk with you through this. This is through deeper conversations that we have, where I go really in depth with this stuff, or with what's going on in the sky. And we have embodiment practices where I help you with modalities, and guided integration. Okay. Inner Pathway helps you live these shifts instead of just understanding them. All right. Because this is actual energy you're living through. Okay. If this week is landing in your body and you're thinking, I don't want to rush this or I don't understand yet, that space exists for you. Okay. And you'll find it in the link below in the description, or you can press that join button. Okay. Now, for some of you, this moment calls for something more personal. And that's what I call my service guided journey. And this is for people with an active identity transition, where your old way of showing up no longer works and the new one are taking up space. Okay. So it's a 6 month of walking these changes together at a pace that your nervous system can trust. We're not fixing anything. We're not forcing anything. It's just honest, supported movement forward. And I work with only a few people at a time. And right now, there are a couple spaces available. So if something in your body is responding as I speak, please email me and write guided journey in the subject line, and then tell me where you are and why this timing matters. Again, this is no pressure. It's just resonance. Now, before we close, I want to help you place this week in the larger arc. Okay. The first week of January helped you notice the shift. And last week helped you feel where honesty still hurt. And this week shows you what happens when honesty starts touching your real life. And over the next few weeks, we'll keep following this thread where identity meets responsibility. Okay? That's Saturn moving into Aries, right? And where illusion thins. That's Neptune moving into Aries, and Neptune is going to be moving into Aries in about 8 days. So if this week feels grounded, clarifying, or quietly serious, it's not heaviness. It's just alignment beginning to take form. Okay? And next week we'll continue the story together. So come back. But until then, beautiful ones, remember, Keep your frequency clear, your choices intentional, and your heart in the flow.